Today we are interviewing a person who freeze dries things. Her name is Miss Kim, and she's very nice. And we're just here because like our channel, and we're inspired by her because she just seems so nice, and she seems like she does a lot. So we have questions that we're gonna ask her, and later on we're gonna do some more things. So for our first question, we want to ask, what's your story? Like, how did you get here?
Yeah. How did I get to, you're starting with the candy and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a nurse, and I work here in the area, and I was looking for a business alternative. Not that I want to quit nursing, I love nursing, but I'm not going to go my age, but I'm going to be retiring probably in a few years. So I wanted to find something that I enjoy doing that would be fun and bring in a little income. So I started out about a year researching candles, body products. I do crafting, and the market's kind of flooded with like cups and all that different kind of thing. So I decided on the body products and started with that, and had a coworker design a shirt for me. I did the logo, but she did the shirt for me. In exchange, she wanted candy freeze dried for her kids. So we kind of bartered a little bit. Instead of paying each other, we did that. So I did the candy and brought it to work. Everybody at work loved it, and they wanted some, so they started buying it from me. And I thought, well, I'll put a blog on our neighborhood website, and lo and behold, people were interested. Then I put a blog on a thing on Marketplace, and people started texting me. So that's kind of how it just kind of fell into it. So I've added that onto the Bath and Body products, and right now the candy's selling more than the Bath and Body products. So with that, so I'm going to be doing both. But when you're looking at business and you only have a certain amount of money, you got to figure which way you're going to go. So right now I'm doing the candy, which will build up my money, and that'll help me into my products, being able to buy my supplies for my Bath and Body stuff. So that's kind of how it started.
That's really cool.
Okay, number 2. What is your favorite thing to freeze dry?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've been freeze drying a few things. We've had it a little over, I guess about a year and a half. I started out doing meals for preservation because we are in a hurricane area. I grew up in New Orleans and went through Katrina, and it was real expensive when we left a lot of food in our freezer. So I've been trying to talk my husband into a freeze dryer for a while for that reason, and we finally got one. So I started making all kinds of stuff, doing the vegetables, and I had meals prepared and all of that. And they last a while, so if you do it right, they can last up to 25 years in the bag. So I had a few of those, and then we stopped for a while because the economy got real expensive. And then I started back up because of the request for the candy. So I have to say, like, nice candy. I'm having a lot of fun with it, a whole lot of fun. So I get to taste it too, which I've got to be careful. So that, I would have to say that. My next endeavor is to try freeze drying some pickles.
Ooh.
So,
I love pickles.
we will see.
I would eat a whole package.
Well, in the freeze dried candy, I joined a website where there's a whole group of freeze dryers. And there's a lot of things that they're doing I never even thought of doing. So they have a fun twist on the candies.
Yeah.
One of them is pickle Skittles. I don't know if I'd like that, but I'm going to try it. I'll make my own pickle powder. There's also like Skittles that have the chamoy and the tahini. So I got that, and we're going to start on that. I've had a couple of requests for freeze-dried fruit. So we'll see. I'm working on the business end of it, and there's certain things through the state you have to do. So when you're doing a business at home that involves food, you have to get what's called a cottage license, and they dictate what you can and can't do. You can do candy, you can do baked goods, but anything that requires time and temperature that has to be refrigerated, they determine whether or not you can do that. And I still haven't researched enough to find out if you have to have a commercial kitchen for that, or if they can come out and do the inspection within your home, and as long as you have a separate refrigerator and prep area might be able to do that, because I have had requests for freeze-dried ice cream. And the thing with that is, that's freezed, that's frozen, and then you have to take it out, you have to put it in the freeze dryer, so you're looking at time, temperature, and if you're not careful, dairy can have salmonella, all those kind of things, just like they have the recalls at Walmart and different things like that. So it's real important that you follow those guidelines. Okay? So that's it for that part of it. Candy, right now.
Right. So question number 3 is how long does it usually take to freeze dry something?
Depends on what it is. Fruits, vegetables, whole foods are going to have a lot more water that has to be extracted from the food. So it could be anywhere from 24 to 36 hours, sometimes 48. You can reduce your freeze time by putting your foods in your tray and put it in the freezer first, which bypasses some of the freezing, and then put it in the freeze dryer, and that cuts down on some of the freeze time. But right now, the candy's probably the shortest because it has the least amount of water that I'm aware of right now. So about 4 to 6 hours, depending on the candy and what you're trying to do. Some of them have to be prepped in the oven first to soften them up enough so that when they go in the freeze dryer and the freeze drying process occurs, then they puff up more and they get more light and airy. If you put them in while they're in their hard phase, some of them they puff up some, but they're still kind of hard to bite into. The idea is to get it light and airy enough where it either melts in your mouth or it has a little crunch like a malted ball, and then kind of melts in your mouth. But the flavor's more intense when you freeze dry.
That's really cool.
So, candies I couldn't really eat when I was growing up, or now, when you're older, you have dental issues. So, things like bit of honey, hard taffy, things like that, makes it easier to eat.
That's really cool.
Number 4, how much does a freeze drying machine cost?
Well, depends on what size you get. They have them for home use, which is small, medium, large, and extra large. They start at about $2,800, and then go up to about $5,000 or $6,000. Then you can get into the commercial, and they have them for science, for freeze drying different things, for specimens and things like that. So.
That's cheaper than having a car here. Yeah. Okay, so number 5. What is your favorite thing about your job?
My job is in this job.
Yes.
I like meeting people. I like to do things that make me happy. I don't want to do something that feels like a job. So definitely making the candy's a lot of fun. Crafting is creative. It is a stress reliever for me. So when I'm not working, I don't like to just sit. I like to be making stuff, be productive. So I really enjoy that. I enjoy meeting a lot of people. I like interacting. I just like doing things that make people happy.
Okay, number 6, how much do you usually make in a week?
Well, I'm just starting. It's hard to say. In this, you could probably do pretty well. I mean, I've just been doing it a few weeks, and I've gotten quite a few orders, and I've been able to replenish the candy. So I can see potential. I don't really know yet.
Alright, so here's our last question. How does a freeze drying machine work?
Okay. Well, freeze drying machine uses a pump, and it uses pressure. So I can take you back and we can look at the freeze dryer. It looks like a little refrigerator. It's got shelving in it. It's got a cooling chamber. So you start cooling down the chamber. You put the food in. Once you put the food in, then you have to close up everything. There's a valve that you close because we have to create a vacuum, a seal. So once I close that valve and I start the machine, there's a pump attached to the machine. It has oil in it, so it stays lubricated, and the freeze dryer cools down, it freezes everything if you haven't pre-freezed it. Then the pump will start when it goes into the drying phase. So when the pump starts, what it's doing is it's pulling all that air out of the chamber. So it's under a whole lot of pressure. What that does is extracting the moisture out of the food. Once it extracts the moisture out of the food, vegetables and fruits and things like that, they don't expand. They will stay in their same state as what you had it when you chopped it or you sliced it. With candy though, because of the sugar content and the way it's structured, it tends to puff up and get really light and airy. So it's really cool to see the difference that you get. So I can show you, let me see, a Jolly Rancher. Here, I'm out of camera. So you have a Jolly Rancher, and these are really hard, right? So that's in a hard state, the way it comes from the store. You take this, you put it on a tray, fill it up, put it in, come out, and then they come out all puffed up. Like this. Little airy balls. And they taste really good. You want to try that?
Sure.
You pick a flavor. This is grape. Those dark red ones, I believe, are punch. The light pink one is watermelon. Good. So they get crunchy and they kind of melt in your mouth. So they kind of dissolve in your mouth. They have a lot of flavor. A lot easier to eat than trying to bite down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing about freeze drying, it makes candy fun to eat. Another one. Now this, like I said, sometimes there is a little preparation with the candy before you put it in. Certain things need a little help softening up first. This is Airheads. Now, I did not pre-warm these and soften them before I started. But these usually get really puffier than this. These are kind of flat. They puffed up a little bit, but usually if I pre-warm them, they'll puff up like this, like little pillows. And Laffy Taffy can be pretty hard. So it snaps easier, and it's a little easier to bite. Now these are, when they don't puff up as much, they're a little hard, they're a little crunchy, but when they're puffed up, they're softer to bite into. So, still easier to eat in that state.
That's really cool.
You know, I've had gummy worms. We're not going to eat these, but I'll show you what they look like. And let me get gloves on for that because these are for sale, and I don't want to touch it with my hands. So, oh, nope, that's the other Jolly Rancher. Where's the worms? Down there. That's more Jolly Ranchers. Thank you. Okay. So we have here, these are the gummy worms. Now they're long and about so wide that they puff really big. When you freeze dry them, they get big and blow up. So they have a lot of air in them. They're not gummy and chew like before. These are softer than taffy when you eat them. You've had gummy worms? Yeah. So this has, pretty much like the Jolly Ranchers, get the same kind of state. And peach rings, I have peach rings right now.
Ooh.
So these are the peach rings.
I've tried some of the peach ones. They're like sold differently, and they were really good.
They taste like a peach. Have you had them free-dried?
Yes.
Yes. So they're usually in a gummy state as well, and they puff up and do the same thing. Now, a lot of times when I make this candy and take it off the tray and start to bag it, there'll be a lot of little dust or flakes in the tray. I gather those up and put them in little bags, and we use them to enhance cupcake flavors. You can put them on a cupcake. You can put them on. You can get the Dum Dums and dip them use them to dip your lollipop in, that kind of thing. So that doesn't go to waste. You use that as well. Okay. Last one to grab it is a rotten egg. You can have it.
I don't
That
know.
one.
You can
It's really orangey. I think they're pretty intense. Now, a couple of other flavors that are popular, I understand, are the warheads. Anything that's sour, and the sour gets more intense with the freeze dried as well. So, you all want to go take a look at the freeze dried?
Yeah.
Okay, so bring your candles. It's a medium.
Okay.
So we opted not to go with the smallest, we went with the medium. They had a special on it when we bought it.
That's really cool.
And there's several manufacturers. We have Harvest Right. I think there's one called Alpine, and there's a couple of others. So I'm finding out with the groups I've joined.
So what's in there right now?
Right now I have Jolly Ranchers, Airheads, and Skittles.
I can see how the airheads are now like puffing up a
Yeah,
lot.
see how much more these are puffing up? Because I,
And the Skittles are starting to burst.
uh-huh.
Like how they do.
Yeah. Now with harder candies like the lemon heads and red hots, because they have such a hard shell, you have to pre-warm those and soften the shell up so that when they go in here they'll pop open and then the interior can expand.
You don't have to do that with Skittles though?
Nope.
No.
No, not with Skittles. Skittles are is not only one of the best sellers from what I understand, but it you almost can't go wrong with Skittles.
Yeah.
They're hard to ruin. Now I did run into one thing I didn't know was I was doing solid runs with this, one batch after the other, and the last batch last week got kind of sticky. The trays were cold when I got it. I'm like, why are they cold? Because they're usually warm when I pull them out.
Really?
So this is free dried bananas
I've always
right
seen,
here.
I've had freeze dried apples before, and they were like really good.
I can give you some out of the bag. You could try them. So these are free dried bananas. There's certain foods when you cut them and the oxygen hits them, they turn brown. Apples, bananas, avocados. All you have to do is do a little water with lemon juice in it. And the citric acid in the lemon juice helps keep them from turning brown. So you just coat them a little bit. I'll put these in the freezer first, put them on a tray, and then stuff them in the freeze dryer. So that's bananas. Yes. Whoops. So, banana chip. These are really good on like oatmeal, and these aren't they aren't fried.
Yeah.
So, okay. No more
I really
banana.
like
They're stronger flavor. Yeah. Now I used to not to slice those. I figured I get thicker slices and do better with that. And that is a cool banana slicer. Carrots too. So a little slicer for the bananas. Works really well. Over here. This right here is a tool I use for the candy, for the hard candy. So you have to be careful because it will cut your finger off if you're not careful. It is a ratcheted PVC pipe cutter. And to get bite-sized pieces of the Jolly Ranchers, because if you don't cut them, they get like this big. And you can't get your mouth around them, and then it's a big mess. So, take the Jolly Rancher, and we use the ratcheted pipe cutter, like this. And I get it to about the size that I need. Put it in here, and look for about the mid point that's in the middle of the candy, about right there, about like that, and cut it. And it gives it a clean cut without making a lot of crumbs.
That's really cool.
And when they puff up, they'll get about the size of a gumball. So, that's a neat tool. Airheads and Laffy Taffy. scissors. In here. No. Oh, no, scissors. Well, these are the little scissors. So I have a big pair of scissors. So I usually cut the candy open. And try to pull it open down the seam. And we can angle the camera down so people can see. I just lay it on its own label here. And I just use a knife. Be careful with your knife. And I cut these into bite-sized pieces. So I cut it about halfway. I usually cut it in about 4 pieces. And this makes like 4 bite squares. Cut that up. And then we lay them out on the paper. When the other trays come out and I pull that candy off, then we can just take this and slide the whole thing into the tray. So that's that one.
That was very cool.
Starburst a little different. Back this up a little bit to see what's on the paper. There. Starburst is a little different. Now when you figure what you're doing for your business, you have to figure the cost of what you're buying. All your supplies, that's bags, the oxygen absorbers, gift wrap, boxes, your shipping, all that. Because what you put into it monetarily or with your money, you have to use that when you go to tax time to write that off. The difference between what you spend on your business and what you make on your business is your profit. So, real important to take all that into account. Now, the cost of my materials may not be that much. And people say, you know, why is it so expensive? Why is it so much more than regular candy? There's electricity to run the pump and the freeze dryer. That increases my electrical bill. So that has to be factored into the cost of the candy. And the time, because you have to individually unwrap these. So you got to figure out how much time does it take me to fill all these trays, and you want to pay yourself a salary. So you figure all of that in, and okay, so let's just say hypothetically a piece of candy in a bag costs 50 cents. I could double that price and you would think, okay, that's my markup. Well, no. I got to factor in how long did it take me to do a tray of candy. So it's, you know, how much am I going to pay myself per hour for that? Back this up a little further. And so how much time to fill the trays, how much time it takes to freeze it. Of course, I'm not going to pay myself because the machine's doing the work, but you're going to factor in how much your electric bill is for that 4 hours and factor that in. And you figure per piece how much this all costing you. And then you put that into the cost of each piece of candy. And then you figure how many pieces go in a bag. How many ounces is that in a bag? And I usually do everything by the ounce, pretty much, or by the piece. I'll put it this way, Jolly Ranchers are super light, but they're more per piece. And you can fit probably, I haven't counted, I would probably say about maybe up to 15 pieces in a large bag. Whereas the Skittles, you get a lot, and it weighs more. Now, water comes out of it, but it doesn't get as light and airy as the Jolly Ranchers. So the cost of the bag is the same, but the Skittles are a lot less money than the Jolly Ranchers. So, and some things you make more money on, and some things you just don't. So it kind of evens out. Whatever you charge or decide to charge kind of comes out in the wash. It kind of evens itself out. So this is what I do. I set these up. I put them on the tray. Certain like Skittles, I don't have to put in the warmer. Things like taffy, I do. to put in. I put them in the oven for about 10 minutes to soften them up, and then they go in the freeze dryer. And they run their course, and hopefully they puff up the way I want. Those last night did not, because I was very tired, and I did not pre-more them. So the airheads that we saw that were a little flatter, the texture changed well enough to be able to bite into them without breaking your teeth, and it being gooey and sticking to your teeth. But they're just not as the way I like them, airy and fluffy and light. So that's that. You want to cut some? Do some?
Yeah.
Or I mean, if you don't, that's fine. I'm gonna be cutting all day.
Well,
So
I'm gonna help you.
Yes,
I'm
same.
gonna definitely help you.
you definitely want to get into that?
Yes.
Okay. So you can pick some candies.
Okay.
Ben and Honey is another one that's very similar to the taffy. These do not have to be pre-warmed, but they do need to be cut because they get really big. Have y'all ever seen the caramel apples?
Yes.
Suckers? I'll show you those when I get the camera. Caramel apple suckers, I don't have any here in the regular form, but they get really puff up really big. They get, you can actually take the stick. They still have the sticks on them, but they come out a lot easier. You have to be careful when you package them. Some, I don't know if people like the sticks on them or not. I'll find that out as we go. But yeah, they puff up really big. And they have the green apples at the store, but they actually, I didn't know they had them in 3 flavors.
Oh yeah.
Around the fall, they have Golden Delicious, Red Macintosh, and the green apple.
The red one is.
So they
definitely
have
my
a bag in the fall at Walmart that has all 3 flavors. Yeah. Well, I think it's all online year round. You just have to find a place to go. This is the cart that my husband got me. We have another one in the office. So that I can organize everything, and the ones on the bottom are supposed to go out right now. I still have some orders I'm filling. So that's it. That gets it all organized for me. All right. And your pair of gloves. So do y'all want to pick what candy you want to do? And I'll put another pair of gloves on.
Alright, you can pick first, because I don't really care what candy I do as long as I'm doing one.
Well, we started 2 things. This one, I think we're going to leave off the Jolly Ranchers because they tend to roll off. So I'll put these 2 up here.
Okay.
And we'll pick some other, these kind of stick to the paper. So when we go to put them in the tray, it'll be a little bit easier. Same with these. So we can do that. Skittles go in the tray without anything.
Why don't shoot for airheads?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Shoot for airheads. Or see what else.
What does chocolate do? Chocolate does not freeze dry very well.
Yeah, I was curious.
Because anything that has a high fat content does not do really well. I'm doing some research right now. Some of the groups say if you keep the temperature like around 80, it doesn't get real gooey and melt. So you could do that and then go through the freeze dry process. There's a way to program the machine.
Okay.
And it doesn't get, but these, I mean, Charleston Chews, caramel M&Ms, which have a hard shell,
Yeah.
they puff up really big.
So caramel does well.
Caramel does well. Chocolate doesn't do as well. The M&Ms are popular and do well because they have a hard shell and they crack without having to melt, without them melting. I did do some junior mints on my first round for the office, and the chocolate got melty and kind of stuck to my fingers a little bit. So you have to be careful taking it off. But once the chocolate dries, it's fine. The interior gets real light and fluffy. So when you eat it, it's kind of like eating a Thin Mint cookie. So it's minty, but it's got that crunchy, which is kind of cool. These are Charleston Chews. I have not done these yet, but I've heard they do really well. You cut those in half as well. So
You can pick what candy you want first.
You can pick what you want.
I'll just do airheads.
You want to do airheads?
This is a little easier. So we'll bring this over here. The airheads can come right here. You can pick a flavor that you want to do. We could actually bring the camera up. Oops. There we go. And just a little bit more they can see what we're doing. Maybe catch it on this end and work that way. That way we're not. Do some of these. Bit of honeys. They all have to be on the house.
Do those get cut as well?
These get cut in half, yes. They make little squares. So this is how the bit of honey come out. Just like the Laffy Taffy and the Airheads. They all puff up like that. So not too much of a variation on those.
How do you cut these in half?
Be
Use the
careful.
knife. Use
Just a
the
knife.
knife.
Yeah, so you just, I'll get y'all a knife. So you just want to be careful not to get hit, but they're really kind of hard. So I just find the middle point and do like this. And then just like that.
Yes.
And then lay them out. You want a little space between so they don't stick together. Okay, so here's yours. Here's yours.
So she
Now
cut
with-
those into fours.
Right. I usually go down the middle first and then try to go middle of each half. And that makes it a little easier. We'll just put our candy paper over there. And also do fruit roll-ups.
Oh, I've never had one of those. I haven't either.
Fruit roll-ups, when they freeze dry, they puff up a little bit, and they get crunchy. I call them fruity bark.
Oh.
If you leave them in their long state, they look like a log,
Yeah.
little flat log, but they puff up a little bit.
You can go.
You just know when it's ready.
So, process is now.
Yep, process is done. So what we need to do is we need to stop it. I can defrost or start a new batch of candy. So I'm going to start a new batch of candy because we've already cut a bunch up.
Yeah.
And I don't have to defrost it every cycle. So load trays in the freezer for the next one. I don't really need to do that just yet. But it's going to be a few minutes to get those trays together. I don't have another set of trays set up yet. Okay, so now that I turn the defrost off, and we're not going to do another batch right away. Here we're going to open the valve. And you can hear it. So it's releasing the pressure.
I didn't expect that noise.
That's it. There's a little water in there, but it's going to continue to drain. So that is now released the pressure. And we can open the door. If I didn't open that valve and we tried to open the door, we'd be... It has a suction. It will not allow you to open it. So...
Look how glossy they are.
Yep, they're glossy. You want to hold that tray? They're a little warm. Not too hot, but a little warm. See, these puffed up way more since I put them in the oven.
Oh, that's
The other ones were still kind of...
Those are the airheads?
Those are the airheads. So the ones we had earlier that were flatter, I hadn't warmed them up first.
Look so bad.
But softening them up makes them puff up bigger. And these puffed up big too, just not as much. The ones in the back actually melted before they got in because the back of the oven's hotter than the other. So I got that. And here come the Jolly Ranchers.
Whoa.
So
Yeah, certain flavors puff up more than others, and
Do
the
you
one
wanna
in the
grab the
middle
big
tend
camera?
to, I think, get a little warmer than the others.
this one's really puffy.
Yeah.